Good day, everyone. Okay, this is assignment 3. This assignment is going to have 2 parts. There's going to be a guided imagery at the beginning and then a written exercise after the guided imagery. And you can do this in one of 2 ways. If you wanted to do it straight through, I think that would work great. I think it also would work really well to do the guided imagery and then stop for a little while, like maybe a few hours, and then come back and do the written exercise. But whatever kind of works for your schedule, I think will work great. So if you would please, let's go ahead and do the guided imagery. If you get yourself in a position to receive the guided imagery, that could be, you could be sitting up, you could be lying down. If you want to lie down, that's fine. It's often, I think, a really nice way to do a guided imagery. But if you're all inclined to be sleepy, I think that's a bad idea. You'd probably be better off sitting up. So go ahead and make yourself comfortable. Comfortable in a way, again, that you can be alert and attend to the sound of my voice. And while you're making yourself comfortable, let me just assure you and reassure you that there's no right way to do a guided imagery. Whatever comes up for you is what comes up for you, and that's what's here for you to see. I'm going to be guiding you in your imagination in certain ways, and it's in ways that are designed to produce something, but not a particular something. So whatever experience you have is totally okay. So you don't need to try to steer it in any way or try to make it go in any particular direction. It's way better actually just to kind of open your mind, just see what happens as a result of what I'll be doing with you. Okay? All right. So to begin, let's just spend a little time just getting present and here and centered. And to do that, let's start off like we usually do by turning your attention to your breath. See if you can be fully present with your body as it breathes. Notice all the different subtle places in your body where you experience the breath. In your chest as it rises and falls. In your abdomen as it rises and falls. Where actually you feel the air as it's moving out, in and out through your nostrils. Are there other subtle movements of your body that you notice with the breath? Take a few moments now to spend some time with your breath and your breathing. Just settle into it. Settle into the experience of just being here, just breathing. If you notice any thoughts that are coming in, trying to grab your attention and pull your attention away, that's fine. Just see if you can let them go for now. If there's some kind of concern, something you're puzzling over, something you're anticipating, anything like that, see if you can let that go. And if it needs attention later, you can give it attention. But for now, practice letting those thoughts go and being simply here in the moment with the breath. Check in, if you will, briefly with your emotional state. What are you feeling right now? And allow yourself to just be present with whatever it is that you're experiencing in the same way that we're just being present with your breath and your body. Just there, present and aware, just noticing without trying to make anything different or make anything go away. And then return your attention to your breath and your breathing. And just breathe for a few rounds of inhales and exhales. Okay, very good. Okay, now if you will, allow to arise in your mind sometime recently when you have found yourself to be in some kind of suffering, some kind of difficult place in conditioning. If you're not coming up with a recent time that happened, then that's okay. Just allow to arise maybe a time from the past. This could be a time where you were struggling in relationship to self-discipline, not being able to keep a commitment and do what you've said you're going to do, not being able to resist something that your conditioned cravings were pulling you into, or it could be something else. It could be something completely unrelated. It doesn't really matter. Just see what arises to be worked with today. And if you would, see yourself there in that situation from the outside, as if you're looking at another person. If you can get a visual, sometimes people can see things very clearly in guided imagery, sometimes people can't, and either way that's okay. If you can get a visual, see if you can actually see yourself there and notice, what are the clothes that you're wearing? What are your surroundings like? Whether you have a clear image or not, become aware of this person and what this person is going through. Be aware of the stress that they're dealing with or the struggle that they're dealing with. Be aware of the cause, whatever it may be. And be aware of the conditioning that this person is dealing with. What the voices of conditioning are saying to this person, what they're believing that may not be true, what kind of story they're in. Just be aware in the way that only you are able to do of what is going on in this person's heart and mind that's causing them to suffer. And now if you would, trade places with this person. Just move into that person for a moment and have that person's experience. In some way you know how. Allow yourself to just settle into the suffering place that this person is experiencing. And be aware of what that experience is and what that experience is like. Notice how it feels to be in this place. Notice how it feels in your body and in your heart and in your mind. And ask yourself, in this place, what do I want? What do I need? If there was somebody here with me who loved me unconditionally right here in this suffering place, what would I want from that person? What would I need for them to say or do? And now if you would, move back and up and away from this person. Move out of this person's experience and back into the place where you started. And as you do so, realize that you are moving back into the place of compassion. The place from which you can see and understand this person's experience intimately. And you feel compassion for them and what they're going through. As you observe this person right there in the midst of their suffering process, what do you see? What do you see about this person? Do you see how innocent they are? See how it is that they're trying their best. They're doing their best in the midst of this circumstance. And maybe they're just confused. Maybe they're being misled in some way by conditioned mind. Do you see how it is that the experience this person is having is not their fault? That it's being done to them by conditioned mind? Do you see how it is that they haven't done anything wrong? There's no room for blame. There's nothing for them to feel bad about. and notice how you feel about this person. Do you feel love for them? Do you feel compassion? Do you feel sympathy in any certain kind of way? Imagine for a moment that you could reach out and communicate with this person right there in that place of suffering that they're experiencing. Imagine that you could reach out and you could communicate the compassion you feel, the love and the understanding you feel for this person. What would you say? What would you say to comfort this person? To help them know how you feel? To help them to know what is really true? And now, if you would, turn your attention to the experience of compassion that you're having. Study it. Get to know it. It's as if you're in a place in the forest and you want to be able to return to this place and you need to know the way. Notice what it's like to be in this place of compassion and awareness. And now, whenever you feel ready, let go of the image of this person in your mind and return your attention to your breath and your breathing. Take a couple nice, long, deep, full breaths. And just whenever you feel ready, open your eyes. Okay, very good. Thank you for giving that your attention. If you would now please, in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause the video, get out pen and paper, and make some notes about that experience. Just really whatever you want to explore about that so that you can write it down for yourself, and it'll help you to remember. And as you're making your notes, if you pay particular attention to what you wanted to say as the compassionate being to the person who is in the suffering, and also, how did it feel to be in that compassionate place? What did that feel like? What was that like? Okay, so take plenty of time to do that, as long as you want, and then you can either, so you'll pause the video, and then you can either go take a break, take a walk, do something nice for yourself, and come back and do the next part of the exercise, or if you want or need to, you can come back and do the exercise right away. So I'll see you in a moment. Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, so this is the second part of the exercise. This is the written part. So what I want you to do now is, you've got a choice. You're going to need a map to work with. You can either use a map that you've already created for this class. So it could be, those original maps, the circular maps of your process around self-discipline. It could be something you mapped when you did the battering cycle exercise, if you did that. That would be ideal, actually. And if you haven't done the battering cycle exercise, I'd really encourage you to go and do that, because it's something that's very useful and important. But either way, so you can use something that you did for the battering cycle exercise, or you could do another map now. That would be really fun and excellent, perhaps. Perhaps there's something you've noticed over this past week or two that's curious to you, a place where you got caught in some conditioning that you want to map. Perhaps remembering something from the past that you've always kind of puzzled over that you want to map. However you want to handle that. And remember, when you're mapping, what you're using, the steps on the map are your self-talk. It's the thing that conditioned voices are saying to you. Okay? So you're following the process of the thoughts, the self-talk, the voices that are carrying you in a circular process. You start in one place, and you go through a process that involves suffering of different kinds, then you end up back in that same place. Okay? And again, if you're a little unsure about how to do this, the best, the model of the battering cycle is really simple to follow, because you can see what the stress is, what the voices of the stress, the coping behavior, the feeling better, feeling worse, and the decision to be perfect. That gives you kind of a good map to, a good route to follow, good template. Okay, so if you have a map and you're ready to go, pause the video and just look it over and study it and remember what it's all about, especially the self-hating voices part of it. And if you're going to do a new map, go ahead and take the time to do that, and then you'll have that fresh in your mind. And when you're done, come back and I've got a couple questions for you. Okay, very good. All right, so as we talked about before, and as we've been talking about in the class in various places, in the middle of this, so your map is a circle. It's a cycle that you go around and around and around in. And if you're not clear, if you can't see how it's a circle, that's okay. It is, but maybe there's some pieces of it you're not aware of. That's totally okay. But you'll become aware of that over time if you keep looking. But at any rate, so in the middle of the circle, as we've been talking about, is a person, is an identity. That person is living in the story that cycle supports and maintains. In the last exercise 2, we're talking about the messaging that is happening there, that person is receiving. It's like, for me, I'm no good, I'm a loser, I can't do it, nobody likes me, all that kind of stuff. So there's that messaging coming from conditioning to that person, and that cycle is happening. It's like taking that person's awareness and attention, and it's spinning in a way that has them going around and around and around and never getting anywhere, and maintains this sense of a self who believes that there's something wrong with them. They're not okay in some way. Okay, so that's kind of the basic way that will cause the suffering in conditioned mind. So to say it another way, so there's a person there, and that person is in relationship with the voices of conditioned mind, and particularly the self-hating voices. So conditioned mind is sort of over that cycle and is talking to the person in the middle, talking them into being who they are and talking them into believing what they believe. So conditioned mind is the one who's saying, you're a loser, you're no good, or whatever your equivalent is. Okay? Okay, so here's what I want you to do now. I want you to elbow conditioned mind out of the way so that it is not just for the sake of this exercise, so that it's not in relationship with that person. And I want you to practice being in relationship with that person from the compassionate place that we practiced and that hopefully you experienced in that imagery. Okay? If you didn't experience in the imagery, that's okay. Sometimes that happens. But think of another time when you've experienced like a compassion for yourself, an understanding and a kindness for yourself. Okay? And from that place, see the person in the middle. See how they're stuck in the process, in the suffering process that's going on. And what I want you to do, just like we did in the imagery, is to notice, what do you want to say to that person? Like if you could say whatever you could say from this compassionate place to help that person, what would you say? Okay? In two different categories, so I'll give you one at a time. So the first category is, what is true? So you know you're aware of what the self-hating messages are. What's true and what's not true about that messaging, and anything else. So what do you want to tell that person about what's really true and real? About them, about their situation, about who they really are, like that. Okay? So pause the video if you will and work on that a little bit. And and write it down. And when you write it down, write it as if you're saying to that person in a complete sentence, like you're okay just the way you are. There's nothing wrong with you. To me, those are statements of truth. Okay? So I'm saying it as if I'm talking to that person. Okay? So take a moment and just see what you come with. Just make a list of those things that you would want to say to that person. Okay, very good. And now the second category is, how do you feel about this person? Again, just like we did in the imagery. Do you feel love for this person? Do you feel understanding, sympathy? From whatever it is that you feel, what do you want to say to this person? Okay, and write that down. And again, you're going to write it down in the same way. I love you. I think you're the greatest. I care about you unconditionally. You don't have to do anything to prove yourself to me. I love you no matter how you are. Things like that. Okay? But just whatever comes up for you from this compassionate place, this place of loving, understanding, and clarity, if you want to express how you feel towards this person, what would it be? Okay? And write that down. Okay, excellent. All right, now look at what you've written. Look at the things you've written that you want to say to this person. What do you see about that? What comes up for you as you see these things? How was that for you to go to that place of kindness and compassion in you and come up with those things? Okay, take a few moments now to make some notes about that. All right, excellent. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do now, or whenever you feel ready, is, as always, to share whatever you have experienced online in the class, and we can talk about it there, from the guided imagery, from this part, whatever you see. Go ahead and share it in the class if you're willing, and we'll talk about it there, and we'll see what other people are experiencing. And then your assignment for the week as you go along, take these things that you've written and write them out in some way and put them someplace where you can see them. So maybe like tape them on the mirror in your bathroom or on your refrigerator, or on the milk carton, or someplace, where you can see them. And look at them every day. So you keep them fresh in your awareness. And as you go through your days, practice saying those things to yourself. Okay? So you're practicing being the loving, compassionate presence in relationship to this human being who you're in this life with. Okay? And so there's various ways to do that. Something I really like to do, I've been doing this for decades now, is last thing at night before I go to bed, I talk to this guy David, in this way. I tell him how awesome he is, how much I love him, how much I appreciate him. Maybe we talk about the things that have happened during the day, and I help him to see what's true and what's not true about what's happened. First thing in the morning, I do that too. And that's kind of a routine that I have that I love, and it's been supporting me for years. The other place you can do it is, like maybe there's something difficult that's happening or troubling, and you can take a little break from the situation, could take a little walk, or go to a room where you can be by yourself and talk it out to that person. You can talk out loud. I do that all the time. If there's nobody around, I'll talk out loud to that person. Or you can also do it in writing, where you're kind of like writing a letter to that person. That really works well too. Okay? So just as you go through your days and all through this next week, practice this. It's a skill. It's a practice. So practice this skill of being in the place we might call of the compassionate being or the compassionate mentor, offering these things. Let's call them reassurances, just to have something to call them. Offering these reassurances, like these loving, true things to this person. Okay? One little caveat here is don't get into affirmations with this. You're not trying to convince somebody of something that they don't believe is true. You're really, you're thin and you're rich and, all these kind of things. The people doing affirmations. That's not what we're going for. Tell them what's actually true. You're lovable just the way you are. That's true. I see you just the way you are. That's true. I am here in love for you. Whatever it is. Those are statements of truth rather than affirmations. Okay? Okay, very good. So thank you. Thank you for your time and your attention. I really, really look forward to seeing what happened as a result of these exercises as you share it in the class. And I hope you have a really good, fun, interesting experience practicing being in a loving relationship with yourself in this way. Thanks so much, everyone. Be well. Thank you for the way you're showing up for that class. I'm deeply grateful and inspired. Thanks again. I'll see you soon in the class.